Hello, I'm Cathy Bollinger, Managing Director of York County Community Foundation's Embracing Aging Initiative, where we work to improve how people experience aging in York County, Pennsylvania. One of the ways we do this is by interviewing people who share ways that they defy aging stereotypes and ways that they're embracing growing older. Today's guest is Victoria Lindstrom, and I asked Victoria to join us today because she owns a coaching business called Abundantly More. She's certified as a life purpose and relationship coach, and she works with couples to strengthen their relationships. Hello, Victoria.
Hi, Cathy. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us today. I wanted to have Victoria as a guest because I know that sometimes as we grow older and are in relationships for a long amount of time, we sometimes settle or, kind of accept status quo. So, Victoria, why is it important for older couples to focus on this topic of strengthening their relationships?
Well, I think we all want to be in vibrant, fulfilling relationships. So, and I think too often that as we get older, we become a little more complacent about those relationships and those marriages. And we just assume that we've been in this for a long time, and we kind of just settle for what is, assuming that it is what it is and it doesn't get any better. But I can tell you that it always can get better. There's always room for improvement. We don't just drift into fulfilling relationships and marriages. We have to be intentional about them. And that doesn't really matter whatever age you are, that's true.
Wow, well, thank you. So tell me a little bit about what are some of the common challenges that you've been seeing with couples, and what are some of the ways that they can overcome those challenges?
Sure. I think the first challenge that we all have is our own attitudes. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes when we've been married for a long time, we kind of have that attitude that it's as good as it gets, and we settle for something that's maybe less than what we had hoped for. So the first step is really to recognize that we might be settling. We might just be drifting into the relationship that we have, as opposed to intentionally creating the one that we want. So recognizing our attitude first and foremost. But the other challenge I think that we have, particularly as we get older, is just our life stage. We have spent many years probably focusing on kids and on careers, and we're all of a sudden those things are sort of taking care of themselves, and we're at a place where we're looking at this person that we're married to and saying, wow, where did this stranger come from? I don't know that I know this person any longer, because our focus is now can be turned more directly towards each other. So I think that that's the second challenge that we have as we get older, just recognizing that we are in a different life stage. And in fact, there's a common saying that I use with people, and that's even if we're married to the same person for many, many years, we actually experience several different marriages over the course of those years. Because as we evolve as individuals, as we age, so too do our relationships. So it's important, I think, to recognize that. And then, of course, there is just the idea that as we get older in the season of life, we are also looking for our own individual purposes and repurposes as we continue to try to define who we are in this new season. And the same can be true for a marriage. So suddenly, maybe the two of you are retired and have a whole lot more time together, and trying to figure out how do we navigate this new season, not only individually, but in our marriage as well. And as you said, there are so many things that we can do about that. So I'll just launch into some of the tips that we tell people in some of the workshops that we do. One of the things that we recommend to couples is that they look at their relationship, their marriage, as they would a bank account, for example. We call it the relationship account. So just as a bank account, you would have deposits and withdrawals. And the more deposits, the more safe and secure you feel. And if you have too many withdrawals, you start being very stressed about that. The relationship is the same. So a deposit into our relationship account is anything kind that we do for the other person, any act of service, any favors, any showing of gratitude. And of course, they all put deposits into that account, that relationship, and make it stronger. And the reverse is true as well. When we make withdrawals, when we say something negative or we don't meet expectations, that's like a withdrawal into that relationship account. And what matters is not so much our intention, but what the other person perceives is occurring there. Research has shown that it takes about 5 deposits for every 1 withdrawal to have a really solid and fulfilling marriage. So it's something that we all probably have to strive a little bit harder for, especially if we've been married a long time. We fall into these sort of patterns, and it takes, again, a lot more intentionality, one of my favorite words, to make sure that we have the appropriate amount of deposits and withdrawals. The second thing I would recommend to people as they age together is to make sure that they find ways to maintain the intimacy in their marriage. It might look a lot different as we get older, but giving each other a lot of grace and sense of humor as we figure out how this now evolves as we age is something that's incredibly vital to marriages as well. And the third point I would make is communication. And that's, I think, regardless of your age or stage of marriage, that is just something that is vital. The quality of a relationship is often measured by the quality of the conversations that we have. So it's always worth investing in those conversations. Too often our communication skills were learned from our family of origin or what we see in culture or television, and they aren't always the best of teachers. So I think it's important to continue to look for ways to connect with each other through communication, recognizing that there are personality differences and a lot of differences in gender. There's been a lot of research in the last decade that really points to how we need to communicate with each other differently, just based on our gender as well.
Oh my goodness, Victoria, in that short amount of time, you gave us so many nuggets and important things to consider and tips and ideas to embrace. I mean, that is fantastic. And there's so much in there that I would love to unpack and learn more about. So I guess in our remaining time, how would you like us, what are some of the summary or points that you'd like to make and really have us walk away with, in addition to everything else that you've already shared with us?
Sure, but I think the key word again is being intentional, and there are so many resources out there. There's no shame in saying we still have more to learn. We all do. Even my husband and I, we do this work and we still find ourselves scratching our heads sometimes and saying, well, wait a minute, we just broke all the rules. So we could always all improve. But I think that the most important thing is to seek out that information, that knowledge. Oftentimes people think if they want to improve their marriage, it means counseling. Not necessarily. There's so many other resources. There are great books and workshops, lots of online resources. And of course, relationship coaching is always positive too, to look at what do we want to create and how can we create that? So I would just say, as we embrace aging, one of the things that we look for as we age is to find our value. And there should be no more sure place that we can find the value of who we are than in those relationships, and especially those marital relationships. So as we embrace aging, let's embrace the ones that we're aging with and recognize that we are just never too old and it's never too late to just keep improving those relationships.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Victoria. Again, owner of the business Abundantly More, certified coaching in life purpose and relationships. Thank you so much, Victoria. And thank you to all of you who are joining us today. To learn more about Embracing Aging's work, please visit embracingaging.org. Thank you.
Thanks so much.